Hello friends, and welcome to The Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you probably know that I'm nearing the end of my deep dive into the Thoth system, the system created by Lady Frida Harris and Harris-Crowley. And I'm still in my back to basics series within the series. The series in which I have limited myself to a total of 3 tarot cards and 2 oracle cards. And I think it's really been of benefit for me, and hopefully for you as well, to limit my attention to a limited number of cards so that we can dive more deeply into them and hopefully get more out of each one of them. So, I'm still there, and I've already got the spread all laid out for us, but as usual, I'd like us to draw our attention to a specific topic. I'd like us to focus on an idea. Now, I think that many of us, maybe not all, but most of us, come into this world thinking we have come to figure it all out, to decide what is good, what is bad, to decide what our preferences are, what we like and what we don't like. And to an extent, that is true. That's part of living an intentional life, right? We make decisions. We decide I like this and I don't like that. And we place more of this on our powerful current of intention, and the power of intention moves us in the direction of those things that we want and those things that we've chosen for ourselves. However, we did not come to figure it out forever. By which I mean, our preferences can change. In fact, they should change. They will change as we evolve. And that's a wonderful thing. The power of intention also is able to shift, to change, to evolve, to redirect itself. As we choose new things, as we discover different preferences, as we discover our tastes change, the current of intention shifts and redirects so that those new things that we have placed on our current of intention will be there for us as we move forward, as we evolve. Intention evolves with us. Our preferences are not fixed, and that's a wonderful thing. However, many of us, hopefully only some of us, seem to feel like, well, I like chocolate, so I will like chocolate until the day I die. And if my taste seems to change, then something is wrong with me. You know what I mean? Do you know people like that? That, you know, I used to like to play tennis, but I lost my interest, so what's wrong with me? Maybe there's nothing wrong with you. You're just evolving. Your tastes are changing. You have a different desire for movement in the world. Right? And so, for us to be able to allow that evolution to happen, we want to remain curious. And that's the title, or near the title for this video, right? Stay curious, remain curious. Even if we think that we've gotten it all figured out, even if we think that we know the way that we're going, we want to remain curious. And that's where I think this week's tarot and oracle spread is pointing us towards. It's pointing us towards a very strong and powerful reminder to stay curious. So friends, here we are. Are you curious? Are you curious to see what the spread is? Well, I'm going to show you in just a few seconds. So what will I do? I will show you the whole spread, and just in case you are new here, I'll describe what that spread was. And then we're going to break that spread into its 2 major components, above and below, and we'll read those 2 components together. Are you all ready? Well, friends, here's the spread. What do you think of those two decks? You saw those two decks in the previous week's video, right? The one on top, the Tarot deck, is called the Surfer's Paradise Tarot. It's a very powerfully and strongly based Thoth system tarot, and I think it's wonderful. And I've used it several times on this channel in this deep dive into the Thoth system, and it's available. I will have a link in the description box below. Actually, you may need to, I've forgotten, I think you may need to email the creator of the deck to be able to order it. Don't worry, it's all legit. I did that same thing myself. So there will be an email address or a link to the page or something down there for you to follow the trail and get the deck. Now, just so you know, I personally believe this deck is most appropriate for an intermediate level reader or above, because the guidebook is lushly poetic and it asks you to dive into the poetry to figure it all out. And it also asks us to have a little bit of a knowledge, I believe, of the system of Thoth, the Thoth system. So, personally, my personal belief is that it's best for an intermediate reader or above, but you can make the decision on your own. It's a beautiful deck. It's a wonderful deck. Also, the Oracle deck, which was in the below, that's available on Amazon or probably any major bookseller. There will be a link in the description box for that as well. It's called The Oracle of the Radiant Sun. It's astrologically based and it is wonderful. It's a fabulous deck to add more astrology to your tarot readings. It's chef's kiss, right? Mwah. And so those are the links and the information and all of that. And what is the spread? Like I said, just in case you're new here, you saw 3 cards above on the top. And those are in what we call a positional spread, which means that each one of the cards is responding to either a question or a prompt. And they're responding to prompts. From left to right, the first card was the significance. The significant answer to the question I ask every week, which is, how can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week? So that is the significant response to that question. The second card is the challenge card. And that challenge can be positive, something we're trying to reach for, to strive towards, or a negative challenge, an obstacle, something we might need to overcome or might want to overcome. The third card is advice. That's pretty plain and simple. Now, the 2 cards below from the Oracle deck, they will either give us one of 3 things I've noticed so far. It can be additional advice, it can be a recapitulation of the 3 cards above, or it can add another layer to the 3 card reading from the Tarot deck above. That makes sense, right? Okay, so that's how we're going to read this spread. First we'll read the 3 cards from the Tarot deck, and then we'll look at the 2 Oracle cards. Are you all ready? Here we go into the 3 cards from the Tarot deck. Here they are. You just saw from left to right 3 cards, right? The Universe card, the Ace of Wands card, and then a weird-ass card that maybe, just maybe, you're thinking, was that flipped upside down? Is that the back? No, it's not the back. This is what the back of the backs of the deck look like. Yeah? That wasn't the back of the card. That was the front of the card. This deck incorporates 2 additional cards. One is a question card and one is an exclamation card. And they come from actually Aleister Crowley's conception or early conception of the deck. So I've incorporated those 2 cards in the deck when I used this one. And one of those came up. You just saw it. So you saw, again, from left to right, we had the Universe, the Ace of Wands, and the Universe, actually, it's called the Universe here, but it would be no, it is the Universe. Never mind, yes. The Universe card, the Ace of Wands, and then the question card. And we'll start with the universe card. That's the significant answer to the question, how can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week? And we have this beautiful card, which is very different from Lady Frida Harris's artwork, and yet it includes many, if not most, of the same elements, right? Instead of the woman dancing up above in the universe, we've got a woman here, a female figure with an animal head, kneeling, right? She's not dancing, but instead of the woman holding on to the snake, do you see the snake in this card? Let me find it for you. She's holding it, yeah? It's wrapped around her arm and it's sticking up there. So she's still holding on to the snake, but the snake is not connected to like what looks like a sickle above, right? We still got the four cherubim, the four fixed signs of the zodiac, the four gospels of the four major books of the gospel, yeah, the four major authors of the gospel of the New Testament. They're small in this card, yeah. We've got Leo here, we've got Taurus here, we've got, there is Scorpio, and here is Aquarius, right? The Vitruvian Man, kind of. And it's a fabulous and fascinating card. There's also this wonderful lotus-like thing below, which seems to be blossoming into the woman's genitalia. It's just a fascinating card. And you can see here very clearly that it's associated with Saturn, which is domiciled in both Capricorn and Aquarius. So we can imagine we have cardinal Earth and fixed air's vital attributes entering our reading, entering our natal charts here. Yeah, cardinal Earth. So the work that we're doing is moving forward, right? It's like Capricorn, it's working its way up the hill to success. And fixed air, which is Aquarius, which is that innovative, revolutionary mind of clarity and doing the work to move society and people, all of us, forward into a more just, a more beneficent, a more positive, a more evolved way of life. So we've got all of that, which is wonderful because this is the end of this series of the major arcana, right? This world card is the beginning of the liminal space that the Fool will go through to re-enter the universe in the Magus or Magician card. And this card connects Yesod and Malkut. It connects the foundation of the tree with the kingdom of the tree of life, right? So it goes from our foundation to our manifestation, the creation of the world or the universe. And in this deck, the universe is associated with the Hebrew letter Tav, which is a cross, a mark, like X marks the spot kind of a mark. This is the place, right? Our ultimate destination. It's also completion before the beginning anew, which is perfect for the universe card, right? It's also pretty cool for the Fool card, just saying, but here it's associated with the universe. Now, because it's Tav, we have the rune Ingwaz, which is the rune for the great god Ing, the earth god. The earth god. Remember, we had cardinal Earth being Saturn in Capricorn, right? So the great god Ing reminds us of that earth, the earth god, fertility, growth, movement towards development and success, cardinal Earth, which is wonderful. So this card is the card of manifestation of the divine and an emanation from non-physical here into the physical. Right? It's Yesod moving into Malkut. It's the coming together and the ending of all things. Now, the return to the monad, the ending of all things, so that it's ready to create a new beginning. Now, everything is drawn back together into the unity, and then the Big Bang, or whatever you want to imagine it, a new cycle begins. It's synthesis. It's the completion and the new. All together. It's the completion and the new. It's the beginning and the end. It's all together. So here we set a structure and a format. There is a little bit of a fixedness here, but it's the fixedness that is the platform for the leap into the next cycle. It's the final arrangement before the new beginning. It's getting our stuff together, which is kind of like reminds me a little bit of a Virgo tendency, but still, yeah, it's getting stuff together for the new cycle. So how can we live our lives more intentionally? Well, that's how we can live our lives more intentionally in the coming week, is to get our stuff together, to bring it together, and get ready for the new path of our evolution, the crossing of one milestone as we begin the next leg of our journey. Right? And that's wonderful. It's a wonderful card. It's a very positive, it's a strong statement here. And what is the challenge? And is it a positive challenge or a negative challenge? It seems to me to be a very positive challenge. Now, this Ace of Wands is very different from Lady Frida Harris's Ace of Wands, where you have this huge torch, but there are 10 bursts of flame which are emanating from that one massive torch, and those flames all form the Tree of Life. So we get the Tree of Life in the Ace of Wands, which is wonderful because this is the top Sephiroth of the top tree of all of the trees. It goes from fire to water to air to earth. So the Ace of Fire is the very top of the topmost tree, and the very bottom of the bottommost tree is the Earth of Earth, which would be the Princess of Wands, right? Who brings us back up and manifests and gets us ready for the new cycle. So the Ace of Wands here, it's the root of will. In this card, okay, so again, I don't get the Tree of Life formation from these bursts of flame. I mean, I kind of feel it, but then I look carefully and I try and arrange it, and it doesn't seem to match to me. If you can see a match clearly, let me know in the comments below. I don't see it. I see it closely resembling. There's a 1, 2, 3, there's a 4, 5, but the Tiphareth should be lower, and I don't see a Yesod, or if I do see a Yesod, I don't see a Malkuth. I just don't see it all there. But it's a beautiful card, and it shows the triangle of fire. We see that the triangle of fire is touched from above with like a fiery magic wand, and we see all of the wands bursting into flame. It's wonderful, and it's the root of will, the potential growth. But it's up to us to grasp it. Just because it's lit itself on doesn't mean it's going to sustain its fire. And it doesn't mean that it's going to do anything or move anything or evolve on its own. We've got to take charge. We have to take it in hand. We have to grasp it. And like all the aces, we want to nurture it or let it extinguish on its own. But in this case, I think this is a positive challenge, because as we've brought together in the universe and we've gotten ready for the next leg of the journey, the Ace of Wands is a wonderful card for this is what we want to move into. And here we have an unlimited amount of energy for a potential project, for a relationship, a potential relationship, or some other potential development, but it requires our commitment to bring it into reality. It's up to us. The next leg of our journey is up to us, and that's the challenge. Now, a flash of inspiration here is wonderful, but then we got to do something with it. We got to follow it. We want to nurture it. It's up to us. This card is pure potential, which could go anywhere and do anything, and we're the ones to direct it. And here, fire is also a symbol of spirit. Our spirits are invigorated here. And then what? Right? And yet there's an abstraction here. There is also the possibility that nothing may actually manifest, though there is energy available for us. And so, we have the challenge to grasp that wand, to do something. How? And that's where this next card is so fascinating, right? Now this is the question card. Can you see the little question mark down there? Would have been interesting to have that question mark up there somehow, but yeah, you see the little question mark down there, right? This is the negative space before the Ein Sof. You might be saying, the blind what? The what? Okay, so, Tree of Life. Begins, we believe, we see, we imagine, it begins with Kether. It goes from Kether, and let's see if I can do this, hopefully from your perspective. From Kether to Chokmah to Binah. There's a dot there, which you can believe is there or ignore. And it goes to Chesed, Gevra, and then in the middle, Tipret, down to Netzach, to Hod, to Yesod, to Malkut, in that lightning progression, right? You notice that lightning bolt formation. Kether is at the top. Kether is invisible. It's unknowable. I like to describe it and imagine it as the itch, it's like when your body moves before you even notice that something is itchy. Yeah, it's that thing you don't know what it is, but something's going on there. We can't know what it is. It's the divine mind getting ready to manifest. Yeah? The Ein Sof is the step before that. It's the everything monad. It's the allness of everything before it even forms into a pre-cognizant, unknowable sphere, Sephiroth of Kether. It's the Ein Sof, the thing before, the eternal, the unmanifest. The great question is, It's not even the, which is maybe the instigation of the Kether. It's the, And then there's the, of Kether. And then there's the, got it. There's something here of understanding with Chokmah. And then Binah goes, Chokmah, then goes into Binah of understanding. From understanding to wisdom. Now we begin to really understand, to deeply understand what's going on. It's not knowledge yet. The dot would be knowledge, right? So the big question, the Ein Sof, the pre manifestation, the eternal nature. And so this is also partly from an essay by Crowley called The Hunchback and the Soldier, in which the idea of the question mark and the exclamation mark are explored. The ideas of those are explored. And let me pull just a couple of quotes from that. Yeah, I picture the true skeptic as a man eager and alert, his deep eyes glittering like sharp swords. His hands tense with effort as he asks, "What does it matter? And this isn't the skeptic of, what does it matter? It's, what does it matter? What is it? This has not been figured out yet. This isn't settled. This isn't formed. This isn't, what is it? What does it matter? Yeah? Next thing. And I'll begin with we find, and here begins the quote. We find, quote, some means of answering his or our first question. And we find, quote, some means of answering his or our first question, and its answer is another question. It's responding to a question with a question. Which again to me means to remain eternally curious. The advice is to remain curious. There's nothing settled here. And yeah, we make decisions, but that decision doesn't necessarily have to be settled. We might notice something coming into manifestation, but that manifestation is not settled yet. Even when we think we're holding it in our hands, what is it? We're holding it in our hands. What is matter? What is this thing? What is this thing called? Love? Yeah. What is this thing? What is matter? What is mind? What is that thing that is making these decisions and has these preferences? Very, very meditative questions, right? But also, what do I want? Do I really know what I want? And is it okay that I don't know what I want? What is really happening? Can I be okay with realizing that I don't really know what is happening? I experience things happening, but I don't know what is happening. These are just some of the questions that are possible. And maybe you can think of more and let me know in the comments below. What are the questions that come to your mind? But we want to remain curious. And that is living an intentional life, remaining curious. What direction do I want to go in? Okay, so I've made a decision. I'm going in this direction. I can change my mind. Intention is perfectly capable of redirecting into a new course, into a new path, onto a new riverbed, with all of its initial power and perhaps even more. So here we are. We're wrapping things up on the road to a new leg of the journey, and we want to stay curious with all of those attributes we were just talking about. Curious about what? Who am I? Who is this chooser? What am I choosing? What am I experiencing? What does this matter? What is my decision? And I can make a decision without needing to know that that is my ultimate decision. Yes? I mean, there are some things we need to decide about, right? We order from a menu at a restaurant. And our preferences can change after we've eaten that meal. But we don't want to keep bothering the waitress or waiter or the server or whatever we want to call him, her, them, with a new order every 5 minutes or every 2 minutes, right? We make a decision. But when we're talking about larger decisions, where do I want to live? What work do I want to do? Who do I want to be in relationship with? Yeah, we sometimes go into the chapel or the hall of the city hall, and we get married, and that is a decision. And we can't change that decision, but hopefully, we're not saying to willy-nilly change our minds, right? We're not saying to be milk toast. We're not saying to be indecisive. We're not saying to change our minds like an ungrounded Gemini, right? To bouncing off the walls, know this, know that, know this, know that. That's not what we're talking about. Remain curious. Make the decisions when the decisions are called for. And if we made a decision, we want to stick to that decision as far as we can, because that decision is helping us evolve as well. We might make a decision about a partner, and a month later, a year later, 7 years later, we might start questioning that decision because things might not be working out the way we thought they would work out. Does that mean we want to immediately go for a divorce and change our mind when we're the ones who are feeling uncomfortable? Okay, caveat, 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 caveat. Abuse, we're not talking about abusive relationships. We're not talking about relationships in which one person has broken, the other person has broken the bonds of the promise. We're talking about when we, in our relationship that is, for all intents and purposes, a viable relationship, when we start feeling uncomfortable. Well, he hasn't grown the way I have grown. She has changed and I didn't want her to change. Those kinds of things. Yeah, we're not compatible anymore. Those, what I would think are 99% of the time immature responses. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to criticize you, but a lot of those responses are fairly immature. And moving through those periods of discomfort and I don't know what I've made, did I make the right choice? With curiosity is the way of attaining maturity, of growing as a person, as evolving as one living an intentional life. And yes, the time to separate may come. But that discomfort is not the sign to separate. It's the sign of there's an evolution in process. And then be curious, what is that evolution? What is it? Again, what is this thing called? Love? Right? So, those are the three cards above. What are the three cards from below? Let's take a look at those right now. I'm sorry, I said three cards, there are two, right? There are two cards. From left to right, you saw the risk card and the order card, which are an interesting combination, right? Something to remain curious about. And let's see what we get from these. We'll start with this risk card, which is Saturn in Aries. And remember, we had Saturn in the universe card, so that's significant. Now, Saturn in Aries, I think, is the very prominent, the more prominent of these two oracle cards, because it does reflect that Saturn planet, which was the only planet we had from above, right? We had Saturn. There are no planets well, there are all of the fire signs and planets are associated with the Ace of Wands, and the question card has no zodiacal attributions, right? So the Saturn here is significant. And we see a picture of a boy with his possessions slung over his shoulder as he passes a bear. Reminds us a little bit of the Smith-Waite and also the Tarot de Marseille Fool card, right? The figure with their rucksack over their shoulder passing by some creature, right? This one's a bear, sometimes it's a dog, sometimes it's a tiger or a cat or something else, but passing by a creature. Above, where is it? I'm sorry, not above, but below here, we have a Native American fetish, which is like a magical item that gives us protection from danger. And we also have a key. Where's the key? The key is below the fetish. Yeah, the key is below, and this is a sign of Aries, constantly opening doors, because this was Saturn in Aries, right? And then we also have a tree with stars, which are the fruits of Martian courage, also Aries. Aries is the native domicile of Mars, right? The first domicile of Mars. Second domicile of Mars is Scorpio, my ascending sign. But here we have Saturn in Aries, but Aries is very strongly emphasized in the imagery from this card. And what does it mean? Well, we want to have initiative and our individuality. And activities of self-control and disciplined, energetic work make our achievements possible. So we want both self-control and disciplined, energetic work. Yeah? Not the disciplined work of sitting on, perhaps, well, okay. I'm speaking from my experience. If you find sitting at a desk with a pencil and paper and working out numbers to be energizing, then you do you, boo. For me, sitting at a table working out numbers is not an energizing activity. So for me, this would not that is not the disciplined, energetic work that would be good for me, because it would be more energy sapping. So I find energetic work, but I do it with a disciplined and self-controlled way, and that will make my achievements possible. Wonderful thing, right? We want to speak or act when the decision is already made. We want to make our decisions before we tell people about them, because it's often the case when we start talking about this idea. Remember the Ace of Wands we had up there, which is our challenge. We start talking about this idea, this wonderful new spark that we've gotten a hold of before it's developed, and we look at this, and the people around us say, really? Are you sure? I don't think you're up to that. Right? They start trying to, probably for our safety and for our well-being, try to say, hold your horses, are you really sure? And when we get that kind of response, we start thinking, I don't know, am I sure? Maybe I'll just let it go. Now we lose a lot of our own opportunities by talking about them before they are completely organized within our hearts and heads. So that's what this card is saying. Speak or act when the decision is already made. Discuss it, talk about it when you've got it all figured out for yourself. That's Saturn in Aries. Saturn gives boundaries to Aries' excitement and, yeah, let's go do this new thing. Yeah? And so we may need patience with Saturn's restrictive common sense. We might start getting a feeling that Saturn is putting a wet blanket over our newly delightful wand, newly ignited wand. But that's not what Saturn is doing. Saturn is not trying to extinguish the wand. Saturn is trying to get us disciplined, help us find our patience, find our common sense as we move forward with this new and intriguing new spark. And so we might need to have an outlet for our pent-up frustration, yeah? Because we've got this new thing, but we can't talk about it yet. We don't want to talk about it yet. It's not fully formed. It's not a stable flame. And Saturn is calling for our patience, and that's a little frustrating. So that frustrating energy, if it starts to become apparent, we want to direct it into something creative elsewhere or within that new project. We want to have an outlet for that pent-up frustration. And we want to have a sense of humor in our work. Now we want to relax and take a measured risk. That measured risk is not telling everybody what we got planned. That measured risk is do something that we haven't done before and stay, remember, curious. How could this wand develop? How could this newly ignited flame grow and become stable? What can I do? What's going on here? How can I do this? And enjoy and do it with a sense of humor. I don't have to have it figured out right now. I want to stay curious and enjoy my curiosity. And the next card is what? It's order. Very Virgo-like word, right? But here we have the moon in, yes, Virgo. Right. The moon in Virgo. Which means And on the card we have plants and symbols, all in order in the natural world. And below we have a brocade, now, which is the human handicraft of putting order to various colors, right? That brocade, it's patient and delicate work, which is what we want, apparently. Yeah, we want to engage our sincerity, our modesty, and our quiet expression, which might be a little challenging for Aries, right? It's not all about quiet expression. We want to show emotions in a practical and material way. Maybe with food? I don't know. But we want to show our emotions materially. We want to maintain order and consistency. We want to find balance and our emotional well-being. All of these things are going to support this risk card, right? Saturn in Aries, it's a little volatile. This card is going to help. We want to be careful of perfectionism, Virgo, and becoming overly critical, Virgo, right? We don't want to fall into that trap. We want to clean up our work and our systems and have good, efficient routines. Healthy lifestyles are helpful for us. Yeah, eating good food, moving our bodies in healthful ways, keeping our psychological wealth, expressing our emotions in material ways, while maintaining our closed mouths about what is still incubating inside of our Saturn and Aries hearts right now. That Ace of Wands, as it's still incubating and we're taking care of it and we're curious about it. As this is here, the order card is here to give us some help, some sustenance, modesty, quiet expression. As we discipline ourselves to our energetic work, we express ourselves quietly, but we express ourselves. We find ways and outlets for our emotions. And we take care of our bodies. We take care of our lifestyles. We take care of our routines. And that will all give us the stable platform for the Ace of Wands to develop. And for our curiosity, what's going on here? Does that make sense? If it does, let me know in the comments below. If it does not, let me know in the comments below. I really would love to hear from you. And friends, I'd also like to thank you. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button, and thank you for subscribing to the channel. It helps get these videos in front of the eyes of people who might be looking for this content. So thank you for helping them find us. Thank you. And if you want a reading from me, my email address is below, thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. Shoot me an email, we'll get you a reading. Or you can also let me know in the comments below. That would be wonderful. Right? Okay, friends, thank you. Thank you very much. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.